because of the heightened tension in South Sudan, we are beginning to see an inflow of about 20 or so new refugees trooping into Kakuma on a daily basis. So that, if we don't stem it, could mean the numbers could swell again in that region. So there's every reason to look at it, and also bearing in mind that the pressures that are now evident globally, whether it is support through the WFP or UNHCR in different areas in terms of support to the refugees, with the geopolitics that is taking place, I think clear and decisive intervention will be necessary, because the resources may not be readily available to deal with some of the challenges there. On Sudan, let me state very clearly that there was the conference that took place here in Nairobi. I think they call it the Taasisi meeting, Taasisi or Charter meeting. And for the avoidance of doubt, no government of Sudan was declared or formed in Kenya, in Nairobi. I want that to be understood very clearly, because there has been some misinformation that a parallel government of Sudan has been formed in Kenya. That is not true. And we have had a chance to look at their documentation. There is no such wording of a government being formed in Kenya. And I'm sure some of you may also have had access to the charter that was signed by the Sudanese parties in Nairobi. Please scrutinize it, because there's no such decision. And I think we need to distinguish sometimes terminology of self-determination. Sometimes self-determination can be seen as fighting for independence and whatever, but in a number of constitutions in the region, the terminology self-determination appears in a number of clauses. I think if you look at the South African Constitution and others, you'll come across this terminology. So in this case, the principle of self-determination should not be misconstrued as if Kenya is facilitating a separatist state. We stand for a peaceful Sudan, unified Sudan, one Sudan, and it is important that they get together. Our issue as a country is that we believe in mediation, and there will be different countries from time to time that may have challenges, and Kenya will not shy away from offering an opportunity for peaceful conversations, as we have done in the past for Angola, as we are doing for South Sudan, as we have done for Somalia. We shall continue to encourage that kind of conversation, but we shall not form governments in exile in Nairobi for other countries. Those must be determined by the people themselves. And the debate for Sudan is that it should not be a dialogue of the generals alone. What about the civil society? What about the political parties? What about the other organizations and individuals of Sudan? At what forum will they be put to also have a conversation about their own country? So it is in this principle that the issue of Sudan came in, but I hope I hope by this comment we set the record straight, and any misunderstanding around that space should perhaps dissipate. Of course, we know they say Kenyan tea should not go there, but that's a trade issue. But on the part of Kenya, in spite of all these challenges, a lot of the humanitarian efforts that take place in Sudan, in terms of logistics, in terms of supplies, in terms of, will continue. And Kenya shall not in any way interfere with that process. So we are putting our case in good faith, and we shall not interfere. So whatever activities that are humanitarian, that are also in support of the people of Sudan, where there's a serious humanitarian crisis, Kenya will continue to play its role in the international arena to support those efforts. Let me touch briefly on Haiti. We lost 2 of our personnel to the violence in Haiti. It's most unfortunate, but we are still committed, working within the framework of the UN resolutions to continue with this support. Of course, the term of the mission should end in September this year. But in between, there are some petitions that are within the UN framework, and I think the Secretary General of the UN made some comments to it. So we await some reactions so that we can collectively understand how the international community is looking at the Haiti agenda, and hopefully on how we can work together to be able to deal with it. We also urge that we continue our efforts to support Somalia collectively. I think it's very important. In the African proverbs, they always say that the most dangerous moment and tragic moment is when the pot of water breaks at the doorstep. Somalia has been walking a journey, and we should not allow a situation where the pot breaks at the doorstep. So the efforts that we've been putting in, let's put in, because we have seen some resurgence of the terrorist elements, and we all know of the incidents that took place not too long ago. So let's have collective support to be able to support the challenges there.